In the jungles of French Guyana, Mr. Herman Jessen, the Amazon trader, makes his way up the Moroni River, aided by friendly natives. His object? To trade small manufactured goods with the primitive Indians along its banks for their spears, baskets, and primitive artifacts. His expedition must cut its way through the dense jungle overgrowth and often has to eat only what nature provides. And now, here's the man you saw in the film earlier, Mr. Herman Jessen. Proud to have you with us, Mr. Jessen.
Thank you, John.
I'd like to ask, first of all, sir, how remote are these Indians from civilization?
These Indians live about 250 miles up the Moroni River. It's very hard to get up there because the rains endanger any trip, and the river is either too low or too high. It's just in July that one can penetrate into those villages.
Oh, is this your first trip into this area?
No, into this area it's my second trip, but I've made 25 trips into South America so far, and I expect to leave very shortly on another one.
Well, where are you from originally?
I was born in Europe, but now I am engaged in the import-export business, and I spend about half of my time down in the Amazon jungles and the other half of my time here in Los Angeles.
Well, we're all anxious to see what being an Amazon trader really means, so let's start now.
We start in the town of Saint-Laurent-du-Maroni in French Guyana on the Moroni River. This river divides Dutch Guyana from French Guyana, and the native quarters house these beautiful canoes in which the natives use. Two of the men who made this trip with me, my companions, on a long journey trading with the natives of this region. The things that I used for trading with these people are mirrors, fish hooks, beads, flashlights, also tobacco and salt and sugar that the natives can use. I'm trading a knife for a comb and a basket for beads. Our boat was 50 foot long and 4 feet wide, and there were 4 of us going on this long trip up the Moroni River. We are leaving the town and passing by the native quarters, and we are on our way to Mukumak Mountains and trading with the natives of the region.
How long a river trip will this be, Mr. Jessen?
It's about 2 months' trip, John.
And how long will it be in terms of miles?
It's about 500 miles each way. We are getting our guns ready as we are living off the land. You'll see that later. This little boy is one of the sons of the Bushmen, and I gave him a piece of chewing gum, and that's what he did with it. He couldn't figure it out. To pole our way into this native bony Bushman village. This is the harbor, and here are some of the typical canoes. Tutu presenting me to the chief, Grand Montifu, who is a very gentle chief, governing these Bush people totally. And he really dressed up the next day in my honor in this French naval officer's uniform with his wife, and I undressed in his honor in the native garb of the region.
Very incongruous, isn't it?
Oh, yes. This boy is making an oar for me, which I traded with him for a knife. And the girl is winnowing rice. In another part of the village, we see one of the girls fixing the hair of a lady chief of the village. This is another little baby of Tutu. And the paddle I'm trading here with these Bushmen. One of the native girls brought us some fruits, and we are trading it for this empty oil can. Shoving off on our way now to the next bony village of Assisi. And you see the way these boys are built with their shoulders and muscles, that they really are good for this type of work.
They're very stocky people, Mr. Jessen.
Oh, yes, they're very healthy, and they're really children of nature. The language is taki-taki. It's a language of about 300 words. I learned to respect these people. I never lost anything. On the whole trip, everything was kept in order. And as I came to these villages, they all brought me gifts and eggs and rice, and I was really treated royally going up there. The town of Assisi, the second bony village. Here's a bakery. You see, these people are very primitive, but still in all they have high moral quality. They don't know hate, they don't know jealousy and envy. These people were very much interested in trading with me, and of course, dancing and making friends came first. It's kind of a combination of cha-cha-cha and merengue. You hear these rattles now. The little ones get into the act, and this one to the right is the son of the chief. We leave this little town of Assisi, and we are hitting some very fierce rapids now. The Guyana Indians are the Indians who live further up the river, and they have long hair, men and women alike, and we are trying to see whether we can get permission to get up further into that country and have them guide us. I love to do as they do, and I think the best way to go into these native places is to dress just the way they do, and they feel very much at home when you approach them in that respect. We are now starting to trade with the natives. First making friends and then trading. The chief's wife is doing some trading with Tutu, my head man, but they don't seem to have any satisfaction from the deal because Tutu doesn't seem to be happy about the deal, neither does the chief's wife. And we gave her some food, and that calmed her down. Lipo is the Indian boy who guided us all the way across these mountains and up the river, across the Tumukamak Mountains and back to the Indian villages. He was a fine boy, about 16 years old, and very nice and very trustworthy. We needed this Indian boy to go along with us to help, inasmuch as he was the only one that had ever been up that stream. The native way of drinking. I paid these Bushmen in French money, and the Indian boy I paid in beads at the end of the trip. It's only 1 month out of the year that one can go up that river because it's either too high or too low, and it's just in July of each year that the river is at the right height where it can be penetrated way up to its source. Now this is Aloike, one of the most interesting Indian villages in which I ever visited. John, the town of Aloike is the largest and the most colorful of the Indian villages up this river, and you see the French flag flying. The chief's house is airy and comfortable, and the women chop the wood to make a brew. It's a type of masato drink. It's a combination of river water and corn. They dilute the masticated corn and bring it to a boiling point, and this is used as their drink during the dancing celebration which goes on at this time yearly.
This is an incredible journey, Mr. Jesson.
Yes, you see, we have to hack our way through. Everything is done by hand. We had no saw along. We had to use an axe all the time. We changed off, and in this heat, it was just terrible. When it wasn't raining, the heat was beating down on us. It's infested with piranhas, and the Bushman advised me not to swim in this water. You see, the Indian boy is a good boatman. Tutu is not only a good boatsman, he's also a wonderful fisherman. And when we weren't hunting up there, we were fishing. There was plenty of game. There was no noise of the motor to disturb the animals, and we had so much game that we sometimes quit hunting and fishing and just tried to make headway as fast as we could. Here's the other boy jumping into the water to get our lunch out. This was the lunch for the day.
Wonderful catch.
Yes, it was a big fish. We're back in the town of Saint Laurent. We are unloading all the artifacts which I traded with these natives, and to bring these back to the States now. We're all safe and sound. Nobody was killed or hurt, and it was a very successful trading expedition. The boys are helping me carry all the items and my equipment back to the starting point.
Mr. Jesson, your films represent a wonderful experience, but I know if I were you, I'd be doubly glad to be back to civilization. You must have had some pretty close brushes with real danger in your expeditions.
Yes, I did. For instance, in this expedition, I fell ill with malaria. Fortunately, it did not strike me until I came back to the States. And when I came back, I had to spend 3 weeks at the Veterans Hospital here, but I finally recovered, and that was lucky.
Well, I imagine in your business, malaria can be an occupational hazard. And this probably explains why you've lost so much more weight than when we saw you on your films.
Yes, John, I've lost about 30 pounds, and you can see by my clothing where it came from.
I see. But you're well and healthy again.
Oh, yes, I like it better that way.
We hope you enjoyed